Well, hello everybody. I'd like to do a quick video on some Mercury outboards through the years and how they've changed, what's unique about them, and any little tidbits I can offer. I have quite a few Mercuries, not all the models, but enough to kind of give you an idea of why Mercury guys are Mercury guys. And I am a Mercury guy. I will admit, if I was alone in the ocean and I needed to get home, I would probably fire up my 1979 OMC, but there is a backstory to everything, and that's why I like Mercuries. So I'm going to go through a few outboards in my collection. I have quite a few more if I kind of pan around, and I got a Gale and some Sea Kings and a nice old Wizard up there. But for this video, I'll try to be as quick as possible and show you guys what I have. So we're going to start off with the earliest one, and this is probably a post-war 1946, 1947 KD4. And these did not have any sort of neutral. You spun it on top here with a rope to get it going. And what's kind of neat about these, they're just a little twin cylinder. What's kind of rare about these is they had these kind of bullet shaped spark plug covers in the back, and I always found those to be pretty neat looking. So this one I have not run. I don't even know if it has spark. I kind of just use it for its display, but it does have some of the original decals left. There is supposed to be a little Mercury right up here, but that's just about all worn out. So I'm gonna call this one, I don't know the exact serial number, but probably 46 to 48 on that KD4. And then we move over to the next generation of Mercuries, and you're going to find a lot of the little racing hydroplanes. These were hot snot engines. This is not a Hurricane engine. This is a 5 horsepower little Mercury. You'll see the K, and the K stands for Kiekefer, and that was the name of the gentleman that started the company and generally turned into Mercury after that. But these did have neutral and forward, and you hit neutral by hitting this button right here on the, it's actually a carry handle, but you can also just click that button and the handle pops up, and now you're in neutral. And all it is a little cable in the back. Then when you're ready to go, you just push it down and that engages the prop. And this is a runner. I've had it out many times. I put some new coils in it a few years back, and I don't take it out that often, usually when I go camping, and I don't really need to go very fast anywhere. That will suit me just fine, but that's a sweet little runner. So that's the next generation after the kind of all metal motors that you're going to see in the old OMC and Elcos and so forth. Mercury started to get a little colorful, which leads me into the next group, and that's the Mark series. Now, when I said I was a Mercury guy, back in the 70s, my dad would take our family to a little lake in eastern Washington, and he had one of these Mark 6, or some people would call them super silent 6s. And they were all the different colors. You could get them in blue, and brown, and gray. This color combination here is Matador red, and it's pretty much all red. And I thought I was the coolest kid on the block, because we were always the only family that had an all red motor. And I fell in love with the sound. I fell in love with the look. And so these are very special motors to me. And Mercury's claim to fame on these super silent 6s is not only were they very well built engines, they had this push button transmission, I guess you would call it. And it's basically a neutral and a forward. This is kind of my junk engine. I have a nicer one hanging on the wall, but you can see it is a really neat looking engine. And this is a 1959, which is the 25-year anniversary. So this one is a Mark 6A, which stands for anniversary. If you go over here, this would be a 57 or a 58, and you'll see it does not have the A designation because it's not 1959. And then we're just going to shoot over here real quick. And this is the beauty little motor that we had. And that's just a sweet runner, and it just warms my heart every time I take it out. And right next to it is a Wizard, which is also a Mark 6 rebadged as a Western Auto Wizard. Same principle, same idea. Okay. And then we move on. Once we're done with the Mark series, for 3 years, starting in 1960, 61, 62, and 63, maybe 4 years, Mercury went all white. And you found all the motors in white. And it's basically, well, I'm not going to say it's the same type of motor. It's maybe the next generation of motor, but it's a very, very simple motor. I did a video on it, crabbing video you may have seen if you watched my other videos. Hang on, let me take the top off here. Very simple motor. It's just got your basic simple coil, 2 coils, points, tilts and carburetor. Nice little super quiet dual engine or a dual spark plug. Very simple motors, very easy to work on. To get the water pump, you just drop the lower unit, nothing to it. These, the Mark 6s, you have to undo the cable connecting the transmission, and you'll spend the next 5 hours resetting that cable once you get the water pump in. But we start to get into the more modern motors, I guess you could say. But anyway, Kiefer's wife thought that white was just a horrible decision because they end up looking like this after 70 years or whatever. And she says, you gotta go black. You gotta go black. So what we have from 1964 pretty much onwards is black motors. And now I'm going to, I don't have all the black motors, but what I do have, I can kind of show you. So in 1964, you're going to find the metal cowling, and you're going to find no color. You're going to find black and chrome. Beautiful motors, maybe a little not so fat as these, but black and chrome. I think one year they had black, chrome, and gold. And that's go from 64, 65, 66. And then you have the next engines, which were the 67, 68, 69, maybe 70, a few 70s. But anyway, the big difference is what I'm trying to get here is you're going to see the lightning ignition. And that's kind of important because these, in my opinion, are some of the best motors Mercury ever made. They got all the modern conveniences of what you would expect in this time frame, but everything is just like well put together. The water pumps are easy to get to. They're just really nice motors, and this one in particular just purrs like a kitten. Just a really nice motor. Let me take the top off. So the story behind this particular motor, I believe this is a 1968. I bought it with documented 15 hours on it. The gentleman had bought it in 68, went off to war for reasons unknown, came back and wasn't interested in boating anymore. And there it sat in his basement, and I picked it up. And I've enjoyed it for a couple years, and I've actually used it and so forth. But you can see here, if you look closer, the original overspray from the factory on the spark plug. So this motor is all original, runs like a freaking top. No issues at all. Love the sound of it. Plan on keeping this for a long time. But this is a 1968 7.5. Okay, so now we go from the best to, my opinion, the worst. And I want you to come over here and read this little nugget of goodness. Is the first generation Thunderbolt ignition. So add 20 pounds and add the most atrocious, complicated ignition system you'll ever witness in an outboard of this era, and you have Mercury's Thunderbolt ignition. I told myself I would never own one of these. I would never work on one of these again. But I bought this one a few months ago out of the shipping crate. It literally has had no hours. It's a little scratched up from being moved around. And I did have it running. So I'll give it that. But let me show you what's going on. Before I do that though, so this one is much like the white motor. Simple ignition, 2 coils running down to 2 plugs, magnetic flywheel, no problems. Super Comet engine, which is same as these were also the Super Comet engine. So let's look at this beast. Now, you see the danger high voltage? Well, that's for real. If you're touching a wire and this thing's running, it'll send you into cardiac arrest. These things are just beyond crazy with the voltage. And you'll notice the Thunderbolt ignition does not have a little end cap for spark. As the piston comes up into the compression stroke, the piston acts as the end of the spark plug, and it sparks on the piston. But what you have is this trigger coils going down to high voltage coils, a million wires of low quality, and everything is ass backwards. In other words, when this engine, when the points close, it interrupts the circuit and the coils dump. The electricity goes from the primary to the secondary windings and into the spark plug. Very simple. This thing is ass backwards. When the points open, it fires. When the points close, it completes the circuit. When you, I don't know how to explain it, but negative is positive and positive is negative. Everything is just backwards of where you would think it would be. And you can buy a motor straight off the showroom floor, take it out on the boat for the first time. When you're done fishing or you got a fish on and you hit the stop switch, what it does is it drops the electricity right back into the point mechanism to kill the engine, and it blows up these little plastic separators or buffers, and it just, I think any Mercury guy who knows any better never shuts off their engine with the on-off. You always have to choke it to turn it off. And so what they do is they disconnect the kill switch, but the kill switch is an integral part of the ignition system, so you need to actually ground the kill switch to the engine block or the whole thing isn't going to work. But anyway, this engine probably has a couple hours on it. It's got perfect specs, compression's 120, and to me it's eye candy, but that's all it is. I took the carburetor apart, carburetor's brand new, and so forth. But so anyway, what you're going to find is the first generation of Thunderbolt ignition had the red and white Mercury, but it wasn't chunky. This was black in the middle. You had a very faint red and white. The next generation, you went to the blue Mercury, and the blue Mercury was the last Mercury with a metal bonnet. After that, they kind of went into plastic. So I'm not interested in even owning the next generation, but whenever you see a blue and white Mercury on black, that is the last generation of the true metal Mercuries, and most collectors kind of stop there. So that is my little Mercury collection. I know I'm missing a few, but all these motors run, well, except for the KD4. I haven't tried it. And that's it. I will do a more in-depth video on the difference between the Lightning ignition of the 1968 model and the Thunderbolt ignition. But you'll find that right there. Lightning is good, and Thunderbolt is bad, in my opinion. All right. Thank you for looking at my junk. I appreciate it. Please comment if you have your own opinions or any of the stories you have about your old Mercuries. Thank you.